Hey, this is Guy Unger. We are here today to talk about nailing the changes or making the changes. It's talked about all the time. What does it mean? Well, we're going to talk about chords, triads, arpeggios, and scales, and how they all apply and how we can make this work to make those changes. So without further ado, let's get to it. With talking about the 12-bar blues. It's a great form to start with. It's the backbone of obviously the blues, rock and roll, country, jazz, all kinds of stuff. So it's a great form to start with. So we're going to use that as our template today to kind of talk about how to handle this stuff. All right, so let's talk about the 12-bar form. Obviously, 12 bars means 12 measures, and those 12 measures are the first 4 bars are going to be the 1 chord. The next 2 bars will be the 4 chord. The next 2 bars will be the 1 chord. The 9th bar will be the 5 chord. The next bar will be the 4 chord. The bar after that will be the 1 chord, and then we're going to have the 5 chord on the 12th bar at the end. All right, this is a basic template. People use the blues form all the time, and they change it and they alter it just a little bit. That's the one we're going to use for today, okay? So with that being said, we got to talk about these chords most of the time in a major key blues, which is what we're going to use today, is they use dominant 7 chords. So we're going to be playing in the key of A. So our first chord that we're going to do with our 1 chord is our A dominant 7, and that chord sounds like this. And the notes are made up of A, C sharp, E, G, and back to A. So A, C sharp, E, G. All right? All right. Our next chord is our 4 chord, which is going to be a D dominant 7 chord. And that is going to be made up of a D, F sharp, A, C, and D. Our 5 chord is going to be E dominant 7, and the notes of that are going to be E, G sharp, B, D. And then back to E, of course. All right, so I'm going to just basically strum through these chord changes here. So it's going to be, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, D7, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, back to A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, for our E dominant 7, D dominant 7, and back to A, and then our 5 chord E. And then, so most people, when they go to solo over a blues, they talk about scales, and probably the most used scale that most all of us know is the A minor pentatonic scale, or just a minor pentatonic scale in general. In this case, we're going to use A minor pentatonic, and that's going to be A, C, D, E, G, and back to A, and then we repeat that. We're going to repeat that in the next higher octave. All right, so the way that looks is if we're on the 5th fret, we're going to start with our first finger, and we're going to play 1 finger per fret, kind of playing in position. It's another lesson. All right, so we're going to go the 5th fret, 8th fret, on the 5th string, the 5th fret, the 7th fret, on the 4th string, 5, 7, on the 3rd string, 5, 7, on the 2nd string, 5 and 8, and on the 1st string, 5 and 8. All right, so that is what we're going to use to solo over all of this stuff as a connector, okay? But that can get very dull when you're just soloing using just scale patterns. That sounds pretty good and it works, but it's a little dull and it's kind of meandering. So we want to say something and be expressive when we play. And this is the way I look at this, is it's like a language, just like you're speaking. When you speak, you have to have certain things. You have to have inflections to your voice, how you raise or lower, or you got to have punctuation at the end of your sentences when you talk, or else you're just rambling. So you don't want to ramble. So you just say a few words and then you put a period at the end of your sentence. So for us, we're going to start with the periods at the end of the sentence here, and we're going to target the root notes of the chords. So when the A dominant 7 chord is happening, you're going to play notes and then you're going to end probably on an A. And this is just to start with. So obviously we have an A right here on the 6th string, 5th fret. Then we have an A on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Then we have on the 5th fret of the 1st string, we have another A. So over this chord, we have an A there, there, and there. So if we play a line, all right, so that's a line out of a minor pentatonic scale, but I ended my line on an A note. So that's kind of the period at the end of your sentence. So if I go, all right, so you get some resolution to those lines. So it sounds like you're completing a sentence or a statement. So when we go to the D chord, we're going to do the same idea, but we're going to target the D notes, obviously. So our first D note that we're going to deal with is going to be on the 5th string, 5th fret, and then our 7th fret on the 3rd string. So we're going to stay in this position. Obviously, they're all over the neck, but we're going to just take it right here, start in one section, get to where you own that, and you can spread out and do some other ones. So we have our D here, 5th fret, 5th string, and then our other D, 7th fret, 3rd string. So if I play a line, so that lets your ear know that you're on a D chord, or at least it'll sound really good once you get to the D chord. So if you like going from the 1 chord in the first 4 bars of the 12 bar blues, once we get to that 5th bar where it goes to the D chord, if you play a line and end up on the D, it's going to really let the listener know that you know what you're saying. All right, they don't necessarily know what that means. They just know it sounds good. All right, and it's you as the player that holds that power, that control to really manipulate that. All right, so we got one more chord we're going to deal with, finding the root notes, the tonics. So on E, our 5 chord, we have it on the 7th fret on the 5th string, and then we have it on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. So if I play a phrase, and then I play my next phrase going to the D, and I land on the D, and then I play a line and end on the A. You can hear the chord progression, and that's what you want. You're guiding the listener through what you're playing and making it lock into that rhythm really well. So that's what we're aiming for. So let's see if we can listen to a version of this with the play-along track and see what it sounds like, okay? Okay, I'd like to take a second just to say like, subscribe, and comment. Hit that bell notification as well, so you know when I'm putting out some new content. I really do have a lot of fun doing this, so thanks for your help, and let's get back to the video. Okay, all right, so that sounded pretty good. So let's try this now. The next form we're going to look at is playing the minor pentatonic scale, but what if we superimposed chord shapes on top of the scale? And any of those notes in the chord, so as I play this dominant 7, what if I played some line and I'm just thinking to end either on this note here on the 6th string, or this note on the 5th string, or this note back here on the 4th string there, 5th fret, or this note right here with the 2nd finger, which is the major 3rd, that's C sharp of A. All right, that one is really nice because when you land on that, all the other notes of this chord are within the minor pentatonic scale, but that 3rd is not in the scale. We have the note below it and the note above it but that's the note. So if I play a line, you hear that? And it really outlines the chord. My next note would be the E on the second string, 5th fret, and then of course the A on the first string. And all that is part of just this chord shape that I'm picturing on top of the scale. So I'm playing any of these other notes. All right, so you kind of get some good different levels of tension as you're playing your lines. So you want to time that tension just right, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more at the end of the video. All right, so now let's move on to the 4 chord. So we noticed that that third sounds really nice. So what about the D7 chord? So when we get to our D7 chord, our D7 looks like this. All right, so we can just picture this chord shape on top of it. And again, all the notes of this chord fit within the A minor pentatonic scale. My 5th fret note here on the 5th string, which is D. My 7th fret note on the 4th string, which is A. My C note on the 3rd string, 5th fret. All right, except here again, this pinky note of this chord, all right, is my F sharp. That is the major third of D. All right, but when we play our minor pentatonic scale, we have this note here on the 5th fret, 2nd string, and 8th fret, but not the 7th fret there. So if I play that F sharp against that D chord, it's going to sound really good. So if I do my line playing an A minor pentatonic, you can really hear it. You can really hear the D dominant 7 chord. So if you kind of target that, that really helps you out. And then we get to our 5 chord, or E dominant 7. So we're going to use this version of a dominant 7 because it's going to keep us in position here so we can visualize the chord shape. So then we have our E dominant 7, which is the E is on the 7th fret of the 5th string. Our G sharp is the major third, and that's on the 6th fret of the 4th string. My pinky is on the 3rd string, 7th fret. And my first finger is on the 2nd string, 5th fret, which is E again. All right, and again, all these notes are inside that A minor pentatonic scale except for the 3rd of E, which is G sharp. So if I play a line, all right, and then I hear that E dominant 7 chord. All right, so then you could really hear the chord changes by nailing those thirds. So that's a really, really nice thing to do, okay? So let's try to listen to me jamming on top of the blues backing track and see if I can target some of these chord tones. And listen out for those major thirds because they really stand out. Okay, that's really cool. So now we've got another thing that we're going to talk about it's still kind of chord based, but we're going to think of it as an arpeggio. All right, arpeggios are just the notes of a chord played separately. All right, however, but we want to know all of the shapes. So when I'm playing this A dominant 7 chord, I had to leave a few notes out because we have the C sharp here, we had the A there in this A dominant 7 chord shape, we got a G there. So it's not in there. So if we plug those back in, we end up with an arpeggio, okay? Or triads are the foundation of these chords. They're all a foundation of our just major chords. So they're also the foundation of our 7th chords as well. So we have an A, C sharp, and E. That's our triad. So we can look at it like this. All right, and then if we do the flat 7 in there, we add that to it, then we end up with a dominant 7 arpeggio. And that gives us our arpeggio. All right, so that's that one. If we play our D dominant 7, it looks like this. We start on the D. It's kind of the same shape. It slightly changes because of the tuning between the second and the third strings. All right, so we end up with a shape that looks like this. All right. All right, so then for our E, I'm going to show you a slightly different arpeggio for dominant 7 on the 5th string, so we'll have 2 of them that we can use. Now we're going to start on E, and we're going to do this arpeggio that looks like this. All right, now if we continue down with that, we can go to the 5th fret on the 5th string, the 7th fret on the 6th string, and then the 4th fret on the 6th string as well. So that gives us the major 3rd, the 5th, the flat 7, and then the root. So now that we know where those arpeggios are, let's see if we can make some music with that, playing over the 12-bar blues progression again. And I'll see if I can't outline that a little bit for you. Let's check that out. All right, so the big thing is trying to land on those chord tones when the chords change. That's always a really nice thing to do, especially the major 3rd. So for example, if you're going to play a 12-bar blues and you go to land on that 4 chord, the major 3rd of the 4 chord, in this case, which is F sharp, over our D chord, our D dominant 7, we want to target that F sharp. Let's say we're going to try to find that line there. So if I try to jam on this a little bit, you should be able to hear the chord change. So let me see if I can give you an example of playing the A chord and using arpeggios and whatnot. So 1, 2, 3. So past timing the note, you have to build tension. All right, so there's lots of ways to do that. Tension, music's all about tension and resolution, and in your solo, you want to kind of tell a story. Like when you watch a movie, you want excitement, and then you don't want excitement the whole time, or else you kind of lose the point. Or if you're doing, if it's boring and there's no excitement, then you really don't want to watch that either. So having a good mix and being in control of that's what you want to do. So when you're soloing, you want to do that same thing. Peaks and valleys in your solo. So it feels like it's going somewhere. It's doing something. It's saying something. All right. So with that, learning how to manipulate the tension so you get the best resolution is really nice. And so there's some really cool things to do. And I'm just going to touch just for a second on this stuff. This stuff is a little more advanced and it's for a future video, but I'll give you some ideas. So I'm going to play, just trying to make it a small little thing. I'm going to do a half whole diminished scale on A. All right. And it builds a lot of tension. So let me just show you a little chunk of this scale. All right. So we're going to start on the 3rd string and we're going to play the 5th fret, the 6th fret, and the 8th fret on the 3rd string. On the 2nd string, we're going to play the 5th fret, the 7th fret, and the 8th fret. And then on the 1st string, we're going to play the 5th fret, 6th fret, and 8th fret, all on the 1st string. So it sounds like this. All right. So that's kind of it's very unusual sound. So you feel that tension, right? So it's nice to play that in like bar 4 and set up like probably around maybe beat 3, play that in there and then land on maybe that major third of the D chord. So you get that tension, you get that resolution, and it ends up landing on that major third of the 4 chord. Sounds real nice. Let's try that with the jam track. See if we can get a sample of that. All right. So that's one example of building tension. You can use chromatic notes. I just played any note. And you can just kind of time it so you end up like 1 fret away from the note that you land on at the right time. Okay, I hope this gives you some ideas of what to do with trying to nail the changes. So remember, think about, you got to know what your chord progression is, know what the order is, be able to hear those changes in your head so you know what's coming up. And then you can take just your basic pentatonic scale, start with that, try to target those root notes as the chords change. Just see if you can do that. You don't have to play super busy. Play some lines, play a couple of notes, and then put that period at the end of your sentence. And then when you get comfortable with that, then move up and try to target those thirds, thinking about the chord shapes or any other note within the chord shapes that you just see laying on top of the chord. It's going to sound good, but each note within those chords are going to have a different sense of resolution. Some are going to be commas in your sentence. Some are going to be periods in your sentence. All right? So that's a good way of looking at it. And then when you get further than that, then you're going to turn around and you can take it and do all kinds of full-on arpeggios over that, instead of just playing the scale and targeting those root notes or targeting those other chord tones. You can use your arpeggios as the main tool to solo over it, to really outline it. But you don't want to just do that. You don't want to just play scales. You want to get to where you can combine the two and get real comfortable with that. All right, thanks for watching the video. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I really do appreciate you guys so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.